Okay, so this is a request by demo. So this is a video by request. It's a demonstration of how to train the first part of clicker training, which is teaching the horse to look away. So I mentioned this in a video that I did about teaching your horse how to lunge, with a better frame, with a lower neck and lowering and stretching without any gear, and I use clicker training to speed that process up. And I had the question from that, how long does it usually take to teach them to look away? Because for me, the fact that look away is the first step was actually the thing that sold me on clicker training. I used to be very against using food rewards to train horses because I thought it would make them rude and pushy about food. And what I've actually discovered is that it does the opposite. So now if I have a horse that is rude and pushy about food, I actually purposely use clicker training to teach them to be less so. So essentially what we're teaching them by teaching them look away first is that the only way that they get food or they get a reward is by being out of my space and not by mauling me. They're not allowed to go through my pockets and they're allowed to nudge me, poke me, push into me, that kind of thing. They actually have to stand and they have to stay where they are and they have to look away from me, and I will reward that. I use it as the first thing that I teach them, and it's what I use to teach them to connect the sound of the click to a food reward, so that we are essentially turning the click, the sound itself, into positive reinforcement. So that when they hear that sound, they think of it as a positive thing. So later on, we get to a point where we don't even necessarily need the food, or certainly not in that instant, for them to understand that they've done the right thing. They know that the sound itself is kind of a reward. But in the first case, we have to teach them that the sound is quickly followed by food, which means that the sound in itself signals that they've done the right thing. So one of the uses of this is obviously that you can use a sound the instant your horse does something that you want, as opposed to if I was going to give them a treat, like what I did in my other video. The demo was my horse was trotting and he would offer a stretch. I can't run over while he's trotting and hand him something to reward him for that. But I can make a sound the moment he does that and then follow that up with the reward. So to start with clicker training, what you want is you want to pick a definite response that's the thing that you're trying to train, and you want to reinforce that response. So to start with, when he looks away, so if I was starting the process, I would actually reward this, and he just happens to have looked away. He doesn't have any idea that that's what we're doing. This horse has never done this, that's why we're using him. He will happen to do the thing, and then I will make a sound, which he won't understand that means anything, and then I'll give him some food. In general, in the look away process, the hardest one is the second one, because by then they realize that you have food, and they're going to try and do anything they can do to get it. And it's going to take them a while to generally have to lose focus again to look away. And you'll see, I think with this horse and with any horse, that they really, really quickly put together, oh, I looked away and I got the treat as a result of that. They do actually learn it spectacularly fast, but to start with, he only has to look away a bit to get the treat. If he moves into my space or tries to raid my pockets, tries to maul me or something like that, I'm just going to put him back where he was. I'm not going to chastise him for it. I'm just going to put him back where he was and wait until he looks away, and then reinforce that until he puts those two and two together. Oh, the thing that gets me the treat is when I look away. So that's the aim of this one, is we're just trying to get anything. So from here, you can build anything. It's basically just your horse does a thing that you happen to want, and you're going to reinforce it. You can add cues to that, or if you are someone who mixes positive and negative reinforcement, you can use your negative reinforcement as the cue, and then to doubly reinforce the behavior that you wanted. Not only are you going to take away the aversive stimulus, which is negative reinforcement, you're also going to add a positive thing, such as the sound and then food. But the first one that I teach all of them is look away, because I think it's the most useful skill, and it makes every other bit of training, in my opinion, much more pleasant. But let's see how quickly he gets it. So that was the question that started this video, is how long does it generally take them to understand the look away? And I'm always surprised by how fast it is. So let's see. For me personally, I'll also say, before I begin, for me personally, so that my horses don't always have to do these seeking behaviors trying to get something, I do actually add some sort of a clue to them that this is what we're doing, which is I have my hands behind my back. And the reason I put my hands behind my back is partly because I want them to have a cue, so that if I'm just standing with them normally, they don't feel like they have to look away all the time to try and get food. I find that sometimes when horses are trained only with positive reinforcement, and it's done either with too high a value food or it's just not done super well, you end up with horses that develop really intense and almost anxious seeking behaviours, and that's not something I want. So I want to be able to give them a clue. Oh, now we're doing look away, as opposed to now we're just relaxed, we're not doing anything, you don't have to try. So I will do that. The other reason that I like it is because it stops them in this interim part. One of the things he's probably going to do is try and look at my hands, because that's where the food came from, and I'm sure that this horse has been very loved and spoiled, and so I'm sure he's had treats from people's hands before. And so he's going to try and check my hands first, and by having them behind my back, it just kind of takes that, temptation away. Okay, let's see. So yeah, at the moment he's standing quite still and everything, but he's obviously interested in me. And he looked away, and then I made the sound. I'm going to offer him a snack, and he's quite surprised by that because he wasn't expecting anything. And as I said, this is usually the harder one, but he actually figured it out relatively quickly. That time I made him look a little further away, try a little harder. But I think we can agree he's figured it out. That's how fast it often is. Some people only do that they have to look away to one side. I don't care which side they look. I'll reward both. There you go. That's how fast it is. If I want him to, try the other side, good job. If I want him to try looking a little further or a little longer, I'll just leave it a fraction before I reward. That also kind of shows that, he definitely got it, right? Because if he knows to double down on that particular response, we know that he's definitely understood the idea. Now this horse has not at all tried to push into my space, which is lovely. So I will say he is very, very quick and not trying to push into me. Most horses, we do have to go through a small period at least of them trying to push into me before they figure out that just looking away will do it. Yeah. Very boring, very non-event. I will say now he's got to figure out the whole hands behind my back means we're doing it, and no hands doesn't, because he's going to keep offering this otherwise. So I do want him to learn, all done. You can actually say all done and do something like that, and that's your off switch. I generally don't, but you can definitely do that. Good boy. Just because he's doing it so well, we'll do a little bit more. So yeah, that's how quick they can learn. It's pretty easy. And I can do another video probably tomorrow and show you that he still remembers it as well. This is usually more what they do, this trying to search for it. He's still not moving his feet towards me, which I'm kind of impressed about. I want to see if we can figure it out. And then for those wondering what you use to reinforce it, so you can use pretty much anything. My recommendation is when you're starting to learn something or it's particularly tricky, I might use a slightly higher value food reward. And by higher value, I just mean what the horse really likes. In general, though, you want to use a food reward that is good enough to be motivating, so that he wants to keep trying to get the right response to actually get the snack, but not so high value that he gets super excited about it, and you start to see them getting quite like overexcited, tense, etc., etc., etc. So like carrots, licorice, that kind of thing, in my experience, are too higher value food rewards. So in this case, he is just getting the pellets that he gets for dinner. If he was really, really food motivated, I might just use like a little handful of hay, a little handful of chaff, something super low value. In my warm bloods who are super food motivated, I tend to only do this after they've already eaten, so that they're full, so that they're definitely, and by, they have hay all the time, so they're never hungry, but like after they've just eaten their hard feed, so that they've already just, had an entire meal of these pellets, so that getting one or two at a time is not that exciting for them. So yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. Hope that helps.